It's been pretty quiet, but the Timberwolves are rapidly climbing the Western Conference ladder. Since getting Julius Randle back 2 weeks ago, they've gone 7-0 and are now just 3.5 games back from the 3 seed. What stands out most to me about this recent success has been the way they've utilized Randle since his return. It seems like the fit has been completely figured out, and 1 month out from the playoffs, this Minnesota team is looking like one of the best offenses in the league. During Randle's first 4 games back, Rudy Gobert was still out with an injury. That meant he was exclusively playing in 5-out lineups, and it's during these minutes where he really shows how valuable his skill set can be. Of course, they run most of their offense through Anthony Edwards, which means that Randle has to find ways to bring value away from the ball. He spends a lot of time spotting up on the perimeter, and whenever he finds himself in the corner, he's the guy that defenses choose to help off of in hopes of making him take a lot of threes. Over the past 3 seasons, he's made just 34% of his catch and shoot threes, and that's a shot defenses are more than comfortable giving up. I do still think there are instances where Randle lets the defense off the hook by taking these shots, especially when he's drawing a closeout, but I also think this has clearly been his most active season in terms of moving without the ball. When he's playing from the corner, he's constantly looking for opportunities to improve his position by floating along the baseline, and from the dunker spot, he's pretty devastating as an interior scorer. With that said though, the Wolves have actually found more success taking him out of the corner and spotting him up on the wing. It's tougher to bring help from these spots, and through a combination of movement and quick decision making, he's been able to punish defenses. Within these 5-out lineups, it's less about having a bunch of shooting and more about having 5 guys on the floor who can all drive the ball and make good decisions. That compromises the defense and leaves a guy like Randle with space to cut into. Then in the event that he does catch the ball on the perimeter, that's where the quick decision making comes in. Sure, he's got some space to shoot, but by immediately handing the ball off to Ant and screening, they're able to create space laterally, which then leaves the knockdown shooter with a ton of space to pull up. Speaking of which, another way these 5-out lineups have unlocked Randle's value is as a screener. He's essentially playing the 5 for them on offense, and because he's such a big downhill threat, he's especially dangerous when rolling into open space. And all of that space again leaves him with room to work away from the ball. Another thing you'll often see him do is battle down low to establish post position, sealing off defenders for easy passes and quick points. That post game is maybe Randle's most valuable attribute as a player. He's just such a big time mismatch. Even against some of the game's strongest wings and forwards, he has no trouble bullying his way to wherever he wants to go. Then he pairs that bully ball style of attacking with great vision as a passer, so when you surround him with 4 shooters, you're pretty much guaranteed to get good offense. And if a defense tries to counteract his strength as a creator by putting a bigger body on him, that's when he'll use his handle and agility to attack them in space. So he puts defenders in a really tough spot. You don't want to leave him one-on-one, but as soon as you load up early, he's kicking it out to a great shooter for a high percentage look. And this unique skill set makes Randle one of the most positionally versatile offensive players in the league, because not only can he play like a traditional 4 with the mid-post or elbow isolations, like a traditional 5 with the screening and battling for low post position, or even a 3 with the way he spots up and attacks defenses as a cutter, he can also initiate offense like a point guard. As long as you surround this guy with shooters and clear out for him to go to work with the ball, your team is gonna get a lot of open looks thanks to his ability to create advantages. This not only gets Ant off the ball more, it allows the Wolves to maintain really good offensive production when Ant's on the bench, as he fills the creation void in a way they previously couldn't, even on last year's roster with Cat. The thing is, Rudy Gobert came back 3 games ago. He isn't a shooter, a ball handler, or a great decision maker, which raises the question of how those two guys can coexist. To start the season, there were a ton of growing pains as those two couldn't really figure out the spacing, and the coaching staff struggled to find a consistent role for either one. But I'd actually argue that the fit between Randle and Gobert had been completely figured out in early January. It's just that both of those guys got hurt, so we didn't get to see too much of it. And it might be easy to forget that they were actually in the midst of a 5-game win streak before Randle's injury, which means that individually he's actually won 12 games in a row and hasn't lost since January 20th. The way to make it work between a downhill bully ball style of creator and a non-shooting big is all about player positioning. So what the Wolves have done is they've had Randle initiate all of his offense from the left side of the floor, whether that's in the corner, on the wing, or on the elbow. Then they put Gobert in the deep dunker on the right side of the floor, making it really tough to bring help to the ball. When Randle's attacking the rim, it's no secret that he's looking to get to his left hand, so a rim protector coming from the right doesn't have as much of an impact. And if they set up with an empty corner, that means there's no defender who can reasonably impact Randle's left hand. So if he attacks baseline, Gobert's gonna flash to the middle of the paint, forcing rim protectors to make a tough decision. As a result, help typically has to come from somewhere else. If the goal is to take away his left hand, that might mean the defense sends help from the left corner, which of course means an easy kick out to one of Minnesota's shooters. If he's playing with his back to the basket, help typically has to come from up top, which again means an easy kick out to an open shooter for a high quality 3. If he's playing from the elbow, some defenses will try to force him to the middle, then come with help at the nail. That takes away his left, but it leaves a shooter open in the process, so they're still left with a 3. So one thing I think we'll see more and more of is a zone defense. Only with Randle in the middle and Gobert playing from the deep dunker, they don't have much trouble picking apart those looks. And if you're wondering about where Conley or Ant play into these lineups as ball handlers, instead of spread pick and roll, they've gone exclusively to open side looks. And with Randle's added utility as a screener, they can continue playing Gobert from the deep dunker to create as much space as possible. Pretty much the only time you'll see Gobert screening in a traditional spread pick and roll look during these minutes is if Randle's the one handling the ball and attacking downhill. And as those two have built more chemistry, these actions have become so tough to defend because not only can Randle bully his way to the rim or get to a floater, if the big steps up, he can float in a beautiful lob. Like I said, I think the fit between these two has been mostly figured out since early January. If I had to pinpoint an exact date, I'd probably go with January 7th against the Pelicans, so we'll use that as the cutoff for some numbers. Before January 7th, Randle and Gobert had played over 700 minutes together, and during that time, the team had an offensive rating of 112.5, attempted about 22 free throws and shots at the rim every 100 possessions, and converted on about 69% of those interior looks. Since January 7th, they've played 284 minutes together, so a much smaller sample, but I think the fact that they've produced an offensive rating of 120.8, have gotten to the line almost 24 times and to the rim almost 27, while converting on 71% of those opportunities, suggests that they've started to figure some stuff out. They're creating more downhill pressure, they're scoring more efficiently, and that pairing has gone from one that produced a barely positive net rating to now boasting a plus 10.5. Within Minnesota's rotation though, those two are pretty much only going to start and close games together. Everything in between is a stagger, so you're still getting more than half of Randle's minutes in those 5-out, supercharged offensive lineups, while they like to keep Ant and Gobert on the floor together so that those two can have heavy usage in the spread pick and roll. And I think their biggest superpower as a team is the amount of lineup versatility they now have on both ends of of the floor. If they want to lean into the defense, they can run Ant, Gobert, and McDaniels with either one of Reed or Randle at the 4, or even slide Jaden up to the 4 and get Clark, Shannon, or Alexander Walker on the floor to occupy the wings. If they want to lean into the offense, they can run Ant, Randle, and Reed with any 2 wings of their choice to unlock that 5-out spacing with the constant slashing and high-level decision making. They can go big, they can go small, they can go fast, they can put out lineups with 3 or 4 rim protectors. Come playoff time, this is a team that has the roster flexibility to counter any look an opponent sends their way, and as they figured out all of the different dynamics, along with Ant playing like a legitimate superstar, this isn't a team that anyone should want to see in April. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out the Hoop Venue podcast and my social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of the Wolves. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.